So on your TSI, you're going to be facing some problems that have to do with changing Fahrenheit to Celsius and Celsius to Fahrenheit. So let's get into that. Use the formula F equals blah, blah, blah. What is the temperature in degrees Celsius? So our Celsius is our what? If the temperature in Fahrenheit is 167. So our Fahrenheit is our input. So we have an input-output type problem. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take my formula. Normally, I would be inputting a C and an F would come out. But according to my question, that's not what I want. I want to input an F and have a C come out. Okay, so I'm going to mess with this formula a little bit. I'm going to solve it for C. The first step that I'm going to do is to flip this whole thing around so that the C is on the left. You do not have to do that, by the way. It's just something that I prefer to do. I feel like it's much easier to have your input on the right and your output on the left. Okay, so all I did was flip this. So let me show you that with the highlighter so you can see what I'm talking about. I took this piece right here and I moved it to the left. And I took this piece right here and I moved it to the right. I did not change a single thing yet. Many students are nervous about fractions. So I'm going to teach you one extra step that can help us to get rid of this fraction right here right away without any serious problems. So all I'm going to do is take a look at every single term in this problem. So here's a term, here's a term, and here's a term on the other side of the equal sign. Both sides you have to do in order to do this trick. All I'm going to do is remove this 5. So I'm just going to copy 9C. Now I've eliminated that fraction, but here's the price you have to pay for eliminating that fraction. Is taking that 5 and I'm just going to times everything by 5. That's the price of this little trick. So here we go. 5 times 132 is 160. And then back here times 5, which would be 5F. This is the exact same problem. It's just that we don't have to deal with the fraction anymore. And we will now move on to having these two terms and solving for C. Now I'm interested in isolating this C term. Okay, so I need to get everything else out of there. So I'm going to move that 160 term over here. So 9C equals 5F. And when this 160 moves over, it becomes minus 160. And that takes it away from the left side and moves it over to the right side. Okay, so I'm going to put here minus 160. Now I'm going to take a look at that 9. Now somebody's going to say, well, I could just move that 9 over there and make it minus 9. That's a bad mistake. Do not do that. You have to understand terms. This is a single term. That 9 and that C are stuck together. The reason I could move this 160 is because it's just one term. I'm breaking a term here. I'm just going to take that 9, and in order to divide a term, you have to divide the 9. So you're going to take that 9 and just put it down here. You make a huge fraction out of it and just put it down there. So now I've got my final formula. The F is going to be the input, and the C is going to be the output. Now we're just going to deal with regular numbers. If you ever replace a variable, I highly recommend you replace it with parentheses. So I'm just going to leave a blank where that F was. That's my input slot. That's where I'm going to put in my number. And now that I have those parentheses set up, I can put in my 167. Now it's a PEMDAS problem. The very first thing you're going to do is ignore this 9 down here. That's going to be our very last step. All you have to do is solve this piece at the top. 167 times 5. So this little piece right here came out to be 835. Now it's 835 minus 160. Now I got 675. C equals 675. I did the 5 times 167. I got 835, and I subtracted the 160, and that's where I got this 675 from. Now the 9 comes back into play. 675 divided by 9. So C equals 75. Here you go. Thanks very much for watching, and don't forget to visit the website www.grossimath.com, where Texas studies math.